What is up, people? Today we are going over the history, the top, everything about the Institute and what we know so far. Uh, what we know, let's start off with the first topic, the birth of a utopia. The Institute is a reclusive scientific society based in the Commonwealth. Where they inhabit a massive underground facility founded in 2110 by survivors of the Commonwealth Institute of Technology and their descendants. By 2287, the Institute considers itself a bastion of knowledge and prosperity aimed at a dying world, developing numerous revolutionary and advanced technologies such as teleportation and synthetic beings. They serve as one of the four major factions in Fallout 4. Uh, So let's talk about its history. That was a quick overview of everything. Uh, let's talk about the history. The Institute was built upon the site of a former Commonwealth of Institute of Technology (CIT), while the college itself laid in ruins for more than 2 centuries at the time of the Great War. Those present took refuge underground. The Institute is formally founded by children of the original survivors who dug into the earth and built increasingly sophisticated residential facilities and laboratories, starting an ongoing process of infrastructure expansion. So, what we know so far about the Institute is that they're a all-knowing, uh, an all-knowing group, faction of the Fallout 4. And they basically want control of every settlement, or at least piece of every settlement. Because if you play, spoiler alert, in Fallout 4 Far Harbor, where Arcadia is, and you see that you find out later in the game that there's a synth that, I forget his name, that the main leader of the Arcadia basically killed one of the leaders of the Far Harbor and made her a synth and buried her body elsewhere. So we know that then we enter. Before we know that, we enter the leader's memories, like on the I forget. It's like a submarine. I'm sorry, I don't know. It's been forever since I've talked about stuff like this. But the nucleus. There we go. The leader's memories is on the nucleus, which was surrounded by children of Adam. Then, once you're able to download the memories and stuff, you hear that the leader of Arcadia is, in fact, the brother of Nick Valentine. So, which is a later conversation between the two of you once you have that DLC. But, isolated from the outside world, the scientists continued their work, disregarding the mayhem and destruction occurring outside of its grounds. As they worked on creating synths, they attempted to work peacefully with the people of Commonwealth, using first-generation synths as well as help create a new stabilized government. But mutual mistrust and fighting ended the relationship quickly, that they returned to isolation. Eventually, the scientists have utterly but ubiquitous pre-war technology to shame. To this point, they have believed the Wastelanders will be unlikely to understand the sheer scope of the Institute's achievement, such as the creation of the molecular relay teleporter in the 2180s, which resulted in the Institute itself sealing off the surface permanently, and the development of synths. For decades, the first and second generation synths were most visible part of the Institute's operations. Scavenging for materials, performing experiments on the wasteland, and scientists did not concern themselves with the effect of their actions had on surface, sometimes resulting in entire settlements being destroyed. So, I'll put this, picture this, okay? You are a person that lives in a settlement, right? Peaceful, you have food, water, everything you could dream of in a wasteland. And then the next second you get invaded by Gen 1 and Gen 2 synths. The only one synth that did not do any of that was Nick Valentine. He's the first synth that did not want to attack or kill anyone unless you piss them off. However, the Institute eventually reached the limits of synth technology that underpinned their society. Although powerful, the second generation synth was inherently limited mechanical platform. To overcome the limitations of metal synthetic materials, the Institute endeavored to create synthetic flesh, with first research initiative beginning in 2178. Under the auspices of Dr. Frederick F.E.V., samples served as the starting point for a new organic synthetic program despite the objections of some members of bioscience. Research slowed in March 2224. The research team concluded that organic synth project could not proceed despite perfecting two FEV strains for the project. Radiation-induced hereditary damage proved too much of an obstacle. Now, here's where Fallout 4 takes place. This is where... okay. Let me scratch my nose. Okay. The solution came in 2227 with the acquisition of a baby named Sean, who had an undamaged pre-war genetic code. Sean was abducted from his parents in Vault 111 by an Institute mercenary, Conrad Kellogg. The Organic Synth Project was spun off from the FEV Research Initiative, and his DNA became basic of the third generation synths. In fact, Sean became father to a whole family of engineered synthetic beings, which you find in... Sorry. Crap, my TV's about to turn off. Let me turn this TV off. Okay. Sean, once he was captured by Kellogg and a member of the Institute, they basically used his DNA to fuse into synthetic flesh, and actually became flesh like this. It would be hard to tell the difference. And how do I say this? Two incidents caused the Institute to have negative perception by the surface dwellers. In 2229, a defective synth caused the broken mask incident in Diamond City, vilifying the Institute in the eyes of the Commonwealth, and no small amount of internal problems for the Institute, as well as he was sent out without proper testing or approval. During the 2230, the massacre of the CPG occurred, which the Institute killed people trying to create a stable Commonwealth government. By 2266, the Institute had learned about the Railroad, an organization dedicated to helping escape Sims. The Institute raided and massacred the Railroad headquarters and murdered their leader, Wyatt, in 2273. Okay, here's more information. This is about the abandoned super mutants and FEV research in the old FEV lab. The FEV research effort continued for several more decades despite producing no useful data, except manufacturing more super mutants for Surface to contend with. When Brian Virgil succeeded Dr. Siverson as head of the project in April 2286, it became evident that FEV experiments experimentation ran its course and served no useful purpose, with the availability of a third generation synth as a better alternative. The FEV program ended completely after Virgil went rogue and fled into the Commonwealth. Sean had the FEV lab sealed off and Virgil's escape covered up, saying that he had died in the incident in the lab. That proves that Sean has a heart. The Institute is constantly facing shortages in its power budget, in no small part due to the fact that the molecular dematerializer, the only way in and out of the facility, requires immense amount of power for each use. Moreover, despite the luster of the Institute's facilities, a lot of crucial facilities, particularly the reactor, are pre-war technology, and despite continued maintenance, required an increasing amount of resources to keep running after 2 centuries of expansion. The technology still holds up as it was built to last. To overcome this at least one problem, the ultimate goal of the Institute is energy independence. But stay belief can be achieved by restarting the ancient nuclear reactor once used by the CIT to perform experiments and providing the Institute with nearly limitless power. The design has been revised and the reactor itself extensively upgraded and improved, turning it from a testing reactor into a proper source of electricity. Activating it would free the Institute from the need to compromise and sacrifice, and especially drawing power from above ground installations. Now let's talk about the organization itself. The headquarters of the Institute. The Institute allows humans to live in a clean, safe, comfortable environment deep underground, free from the strife and environmental hazards present on the surface. Their headquarters is located underneath the CIT ruins. The logos and robotics, I ain't gonna go through the symbols and what they represent. Over the decades of isolation development, the Institute developed a very effective system that makes efficiency and promotes individual development and research. The leader over the Institute is in the hands of the directorate, made up of the individual heads of each division, and one specific appointed director. The divisions of the Institute are fairly autonomous. I can't say that. Perfectly capable of functioning without intervention. Where those divisions interact, however, problems can arise. As such, the director is appointed to set policy, resolve disputes, and otherwise act as an intermediary. Each director heads a division that is instrumental to the Institute's continued existence. On the other hand, despite the pressing need for cooperation, Knowledge is heavy, compartmentalized, and divisions are often kept in the dark by each other or by the father regarding important information. Inconvenient facts are routinely buried under pretenses, especially when it comes to high profile members fleeing the organization like Dr. Brian Virgil. Due to the fact that the Institute exists in isolation from sunlight, there are artificial time cycles implemented to simulate a day and night cycle. Quiet time for resting runs from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Let's talk about the advanced systems. Headed by Madison Lee, the Advanced Systems Division works on applied physics, plasma weaponry, and teleportation, as well as projects currently classified. They are also responsible for advanced weapons and armor that the Sense and Institute members wear on their trips to the surface. They run the robotics lab, which produces new Sense. Their primary focus sorry, I was reading a message. Which produces new Sense. Their primary focus is the implementation of Phase 3, an upgrade to the Institute's massive fusion reactor that would completely solve their power needs for the foreseeable future. Bioscience. Headed by Clayton Holdren, the Bioscience Division specializes in fields of study such as botany, genetics, and medicine. They're also responsible for all biotech advancements, including crop production, pharmaceuticals, and genetic engineering. They also hold samples of the first evolutionary virus, which is responsible for creating super mutants. Rumor has it that they are working on a way to reverse engineer the virus to create a cure. The most important objective is to ensure the health and well-being of everyone in the Institute. To the end, they cultivate highly specialized breeds of flora to use in food and medicine, providing a majority of Institute's food. They have even started to explore ideas of synthetic animal life, currently experimenting with replicated gorillas. The Synth Animal Initiative is just a pet project, but the potential is considered exciting. Their facilities, a thoroughly underappreciated branch of the Institute. The Facilities Division under Ali Fillmore is responsible for keeping the Institute in operation on day-to-day basis. It performs daily tasks like servicing the life support systems, ventilation, and the power network. All technology that forms the foundation of the Institute efforts require constant maintenance to prevent blackouts. And that can have lethal consequences for the sequestered society. In a nutshell, they keep the Institute's mechanical and electrical systems running smoothly. They maintain and upgrade all the systems that make it possible to live and work in a place like the Institute's underground habitat. Crucial apparatus that recycles air and water and provides power to the laboratories and quarters. The work they do might not be as exciting as some other departments, but it is at least as important. They have large number of first generation synth used for maintenance duties. They are simple but effective tools for keeping the Institute in operation. Members of the division include the formidable Ali Fillmore, division head or chief engineer, as some would call her, Dr. Lawrence Higgs, a mechanical engineer, overseeing the major life support and security systems, Dr. Evan Watson, in power distribution, Dr. Newton Oberle, responsible for food and housing. He liaisons with bioscience to ensure that the meals are balanced and optional optimal nutrition. Let's talk about robotics now. Headed by Alan Bennett, robotics is a branch of the Institute responsible for manufacture of synths, currently focused on mass production of and induction of third generation synths. It is also responsible for processing upgrades that ensure synths remain functional and optimal compatibility. Currently, the division is implementing existing upgrades. Synth Retention Bureau, headed by Justin Ao, the SRB was designed to perform one task. It tracks down and returns rogue synths to the Institute. To do this, the Institute created a specific synth model called the Courser. Coursers have their personality levels tweaked to ensure they won't rebel, while their combat abilities have been vastly improved over other models. Other division within the Institute feared the SRB, as they have hit a squad of coursers under their command. They were very effective in their role. The SRB also works on hunting down railroad members so they can shut down the rebel organization once and for all. The SRB also employs a murder or flock of watchers. Synthetic crows with built-in monitoring devices. Synths are primary labor force of the Institute. But the more advanced their processing becomes, the more inevitable the synth will attain consciousness and attempt to escape. As third generation synths are indistinguishable from normal biological humans, the Synth Retention Bureau specializes in capture of runaways. The primary instrument of the SRB is the Corsair, third generation synth assigned to operate on the surface. Corsairs hunt down and reclaim synths that have. Sorry, I'm getting really thirsty. We'll get a drink of water real quick. I take meds that dry my mouth out every so often. They're highly. Okay, Corsairs are selected. Okay, Corsairs hunt down and reclaim synths that has escaped the Institute. They are highly self-sufficient, trained in combat, infiltration, and tracking. In a word, Corsairs are relentless. Coursers are selected from the third generation synth population. Due to the variability of the malfunctioning process, the SRB continuously monitors the third generation population, looking for tenacity, fearlessness, and independence. Since selected to undergo a rigorous training regimen, they are taught armed and unarmed combat, investigative techniques, psychology, and mechanical tricks. Those who pass the final evaluation become coursers. Synths are usually recovered by the re-registers are as ex-synths have the rest of their memory swapped and returned to former duties. Synths are usually recovered by using a recall code to wipe their memories and render it inert. Once returned to Institute, the delicate process of restoring the neural pathways to their original configuration begins. In those cases where the procedure is successful, the synths return to duty with no memory of its time on the surface. All too often, the SRB staff is unable to repair the damage and is forced to dispose of the unit entirely. Another priority of the SRB is surveillance, achieved by using watchers to monitor surface remotely and covertly. Okay, this is society, okay? Formed by the descendants of teachers and students of the Commonwealth Institute of Technology, the Institute reflects generations of devotion to technological advancement and vision. The survivors of the descendants built an impressive underground fortress, complete with virtually all the material abundance they could need, even exceeding pre-war conditions in some respects. As time progressed, they coalesced around a small ruling body made up of a division of heads leading the Institute's operations and development, with some authority falling to the director, an official who sets the near-term vision as the strategy of the Institute. However, the exterior of safety, the abundance bellies the organization absolute self-interest to protect their secrecy, autonomy, and technology at all costs, such as society in the Institute reflects generations of isolation, elitism, and moral hypocrisy. Sorry, I took a minute to say that. The current director father claims that the surface has a lost cause, and they ruthlessly scavenge resources, siphon power, and relentlessly pursue escape sense for their own benefit. When confronted, most Institute members will rationalize that the ends justify the means. Individual raids and minor pilfering of the Commonwealth is necessary for development. Oh, there we go. Individual raids and minor pilfering of the. Okay. This philosophy echoes their vision that one day the Institute will emerge from seclusion and reclaim the Commonwealth, if not the surface as a whole, after its current residents die out. Despite the Institute's prowess, there are limited amount of scientists at its disposal. With a small team working with each division, several auxiliary scientists elsewhere. As a result, the Institute requires relatively little housing space and has apartments to accommodate all scientists and their families. Scientists interact regularly and often spend time inside the cafeteria and main chamber, supplemented with numerous Gen 1, 2, and 3 students who perform any and all maintenance tasks required to preserve the Institute's facilities and infrastructure. Due to the general nature of the Institute, their existing scientists show considerable intelligence and motivation for technology. Does it look like I'm crying? Like my eyes are watering? Motivation for technological achievement. Geniuses in the truest sense. Members of each division have continued pursuits in their fields, having met or exceeded the pre-war status of those professions. However, they are deeply mistrustful of outsiders, that is, anyone physically outside the Institute. They lack a firm grasp of social nuisances outside the Institute. As such, scientist recruitment and assassination, since the sheltered life of devotion to science have made them less capable of physically confronting or negotiation necessary to survive. In spite of the Institute's relative abundance compared to the outside world, its inhabitants are frequently pushy and demanding, particularly to the Gen 1 and Gen 2 sense, who perform menial labor throughout the Institute. Passing conversation is often filled with verbal abuse, with inhabitants condescending to problem-solving skills of Gen 1s or threatening to shut down the Gen 2s for subpar performance. Scientists freely use Gen 3 sense to test subjects for dangerous experiments, since they're nearly identical to humans in most regards. Despite its secrecy, the Institute had both adopted and recruited outsiders to join their ranks. The current director, father, was adopted as an infant and raised within the Institute. Others, like Dr. Madison Lee, were recruited due to their intellect, achievements, and similar views on pursuing independent research without interference with those they have accepted. The Institute maintains a friendly and welcoming demeanor. I have a lot to go over. Uh, Let me see where I was. Okay, while the institute does have a working economy, there's little buying and trading taking place outside of designated areas, and products are often out from the and products from the outside world are limited. There there appear to be no strict work hours for most scientists, as they often take many hours off and come and go as they please from meals. Even so, the scientists are remarkably productive, with several working tirelessly for the next big breakthrough in their research. Outside relations. The Institute is a very secretive to the projects occurring occurring outside within its organization, and seeks to keep as much information internally as possible. This leading to limiting outside contact as much as possible without compromising the security of the facility. Of course, security is an exception. The Institute SRB operates a network of informants in the entire Commonwealth, monitoring developments and ensure they cannot threaten the Institute. Another exception is that experiments while it seeks to minimize direct contact, the Institute has no reservations about using the surface for experiments as well as a source of readily available raw materials. All research initiatives are meticulously documented with academic precision, from hypothesis to the conclusion. For example, Warwick Homestead was targeted to test genetically modified seed to unique in the unique climate of the Commonwealth in order to discern whether ambient radiation, soil acidity, and the fertility found in there could provide an accelerated growth rate and a twofold increase in size and thus yield. Though ostensibly harmless, the research initiatives involving abducting Roger Warwick and processing him to gain intelligence, then using Roger's synth replica to oversee the experiment, collect research data, and eventually eliminating all evidence of the research initiative on the surface. The Institute's activities on the surface go beyond agricultural research. Past projects also involve other bioengineered experiments, including diseases and FEV-induced mutations. Abductions remain a routine element of these research activities. Finally, anyone who holds anything of value to the Institute, especially technology and research data, are vulnerable. University Point was an example of this. When Jacqueline Spencer uncovered pre-war research on reactor efficiency and tried to find a buyer via a caravan, the Institute picked up the trail and a synth representative demanded that the town hand it over. The settlement failed to comply due to chaos that broke out, and Spencer was being separated from the drive by her well-intended father. The SRB wiped the town out. The Institute also attempts to procure data from rival polities like the Brotherhood whenever it can in order to maintain its technological advantage. Threats. As an organization, the Institute fears discovery, loss of power, and theft of their technology. This combination of hubris and fear directly impacted the way that they addressed perceived threats, preferring infiltration, subterfuge, and sabotage in direct confrontation. population. Prior to 2287, the Institute sabotaged efforts by the Commonwealth Movement to create a provisional government. While not a direct threat, a stronger Commonwealth would be more difficult to manipulate and would inevitably attempt to locate them in their technology. This was not an original intention. At the start, the Institute had actually supported provisional government, and their attitude changed over time as progress stagnated amidst political infighting. Nevertheless, many settlements have remained small and disconnected afterwards, particularly with the waning influence of Minutemen, making them vulnerable both to external threats and Institute infiltration. The principal foe of the Institute, 2287, is the Brotherhood of Steel, which is ideologically opposed to the activities of the Institute. The Institute seeks ways to counter the Brotherhood without forcing decisive confrontation unless the outcome is assured in their favor. The railroad is a threat of secondary importance, targeted mostly to minimize the disruption of Institute operations and preserve the secrecy of its activities, while railroad sympathizers are suspected to operate within the Institute. Internal security doesn't devote much resources to rooting them out, as they are considered a minor nuisance in general spite their ideological opposition to the Institute. However, this is not reduced to their ruthlessness or relentlessness in pursuing the railroad, its agents, and escape sins, at one point committing a full frontal assault of the switchboard, the railroad's headquarters prior to 2287, the defunct National Intelligence Hub. Threats such as supermutants, raider gangs are the tertiary nature, usually given the wide berth of the Institute operatives, rather than confront directly the contrary to father's claims of the Institute desire to improve the Commonwealth. The Institute is not directly addressed these threats to the people, only direct threats to the Institute itself. Further, the Institute frequently softens power off of successful settlements to supplement their own flagging generators, such as the Institute generally only addresses threats to their interests, rationalizing that they can only be benefactors Commonwealth if they remain secret, powerful, and in possession of their own resources. Here's their ideology. The Institute see themselves as inheritors of mankind's legacy of technological development, and seek not just to preserve old technology like the Brotherhood, but actively pursue the advancements of new technology in the post-war era. Examples of technology development include their own laser weapon design, the invention of teleportation technology, and creation of synths. Synths are seen both within and by outsider as the purest distillation of the Institute. The initial idea was that the human body represented the most active creature produced by nature, and therefore the most advanced robot that could be created to completely mirror the human body. However, since are considered a robot slave race by the Institute that lacks free will, and any evidence that contradicts this is swiftly dismissed. Despite espousing altruistic ideas saving mankind, this does not mean that they have any care for surface dwellers. To them, the Institute alone are the only elements of humanity that deserve to be saved. Anyone else can easily be used as fodder for experiments or killed to acquire their resources. They are willing to slaughter wholesale settlements on the surface, sometimes for reasons such as trivial as experimenting with soil production. They frequently murder individuals in the intent of replacing them with synths to act as surface dwellers. Even those within the Institute are not free from lack of ethical morals that come with the Institute's experiments, such as Swanson, a janitor that was caught stealing cigars and subjected to FEV treatments following a trial. The experiments they focused on frequently was dubious utility to them and benefiting either the wasteland or the Institute, such as development of synthetic gorillas. The Institute also uses the Commonwealth as a dumping ground for experiments that no longer serve a use, such as Gen 1 Synth, the Institute's variant super mutants. All this combined has installed a massive paranoia, fear, and ominous animosity of the Institute in the Commonwealth. The Institute highly values their secrecy, ensuring that any escaped synths have no memory of their time in the Institute, and installing synth sleeper agents and factions that they deem a risk to them. As an extension of the paranoia, they sent a synth infiltrator to the meeting of the Commonwealth Provisional Government that was meant to start talks on possible unification, where the Institute slaughtered all the delegates, destroying any hopes of post-war government to the Commonwealth. However, they largely dismissed Railroad, the faction that most dedicated to opposing the Institute, as fighting for toaster rights, despite of preferring to operate in the shadows. Over the course of the war, the Brotherhood they can convince to start acting in the open, taking charge of the Commonwealth area in official capacity. Military. While the Institute is primarily a scientific group, it has a powerful army at its disposal. Synths. Inside the main HQ of the Institute, Robotics Division can produce a very large numbers of synthetic organisms which can be used efficient foot soldiers and enhance strength and resilience. This, coupled with advanced technology at their disposal, makes the Institute sense a serious threat to anyone who dares to oppose them. Gen 1 Gen 2 synth serve as backbone forces, equipped with variants of Institute laser gun, shock batons, and synth armor. I said synthetic armor. Coursers are a particular type of Generation 3 synth with higher military capability, used as special agents to pursue the recover lost synths as special forces. They are trained and deployed by the Synth Retention Bureau. Coursers are equipped with variants of the Institute's laser gun, the signature Corsair coat, and synth relay grenades that allow them to teleport Gen 1 synths to help them in combat. They commonly utilize stealth boys. If you don't know what a stealth boy is, it's like a thing that's like that big, right? Weighs, I want to say, 10 pounds, and it can, like, once you turn a certain thing, it makes you invisible. They maintain information network, assist them in strategy. The Synth Retention Bureau maintains the fleet of watchers, synth crows with internal cameras from the SRB. Scientists monitor live feeds from locations all across the Commonwealth with these. The SRB also inserts synth agents into positions of importance, such as the mayor of Diamond City, spoiler, and the leader of a successful homestead. Maintains a network to paid informants such as merchants and bartenders. They are only faction in the Commonwealth that access teleportation, and this is a military advantage. They can attack a location within zero warning at any time and leave before backup arrives. But for this reason, they excel at hit-and-run tactics. Grenades-like devices that can be used by field agents and call in squads of synths to the surface. Technology. The Institute, the Institute is one of the most technologically advanced factions in the Wasteland. The primary and most notable achievement is the ability to field an army of synthetic entities and eliminate the need for menial labor. With the latest third generation models being not only indistinguishable from humans, but also immune to disease, able to subsist in minimal energy intake without loss of performance, and do not require sleep. Moreover, the Institute can assemble them at a rapid pace within robotics laboratories. Uh, where is that? Okay, laboratories from scratch. The Institute has constructed an entire subterranean habitat after the Great War, when most humans struggled to and get by with snacks and tents. Not only that, they can also manufacture its own energy weapons and advanced armor in numbers large enough to outfit all of its security force. Though not used extensively, the Institute can also produce plasma weapons and develop a polymerized casting for the Exo-1 power armor. Sound familiar? Furthermore, it uses genetically modified crops to provide sustenance for its researchers. As a result, safe, pure water and food is commonly available to all members of the Institute. Food synthesizers help provide a balanced diet. A luxury of goods salvaged by sense from topside, such as Nuka-Cola, Gwinnett beer, and coffee, among others. The Institute had a large advantage after having emerged from the ashes of one of the most advanced centers of research and development in the world. Most of the advancements are deeply rooted in the CIT. For example, its security system architecture are derived from the CIT Code Defender, a revolutionary intrusion countermeasure system developed by the Great War. Before the Great War, terminals running the original version of the system still remain in the Institute's inventory despite advances made by the SRB. Other impressive achievement of the Institute is the development of teleportation technology. The only other faction who possesses similar technology are the Think Tank and the Z10 aliens. Unlike the Think Tank, however, the our Institute is able to teleport multiple individuals in rapid succession. In the past, the Institute also worked on cybernetics and artificial prolongation of the human lifespan. Its only test subject was Conrad Kellogg. The reason why he looked so young, as the program was abandoned and forgotten, save for jealousy and grizzled mercenary inspired Institute scientists due to his lifespan. Father terminated the project and believed that the Institute was about preserving humanity rather than an infusion of biology and technology of cybernetics was poised to create. Another dead-end project was the Institute's experiments with FEV. No known innovations or discoveries were made before the research and into the field was ended, with the resulting of armies of super mutants dumped into the Commonwealth, along with mutant hounds and the occasional behemoth. Iconography. The Institute iconography was mostly focused on the symbol of a Virtuvian man in red upon the white background. This symbol symbolizes their intent to move past old limitations and advance humanity as a whole. So this is the interactions with the player character. So Fallout 3. The Lone Wanderer can either help or hinder Institute's scientist Dr. Zimmer in his search for the missing android A321 in the quest The Replicated Man. Fallout 4. The Institute, as one of the major factions of the game, offers multiple quests to the sole survivor. Their objective is to secure power and autonomy in the Commonwealth. During institutionalized, Dr. Lee Masson installs a chip in the sole survivor's Pip-Boy, which grants them unrestricted access to the teleporter, allowing them to enter and leave the Institute at will, provided they do nothing to be banished. According to Lee, this unique privilege granted to sole survivor by a father. Upon gaining rank inside the Institute, the sole survivors rewarded with special signal grenades, which summons Gen 1 synths to attack any hostiles nearby. These grenades can also be found in corpses of synth coursers or purchased from the synth vendors within the Institute's headquarters. The Institute questline does not cause the Railroad to become hostile toward the sole survival until they begin end of the line, which is basically a fight between the Railroad and the Institute. If the sole survivor completes the Institute's questline, they become the new director and undertake quests for other members of the faction. Groups of synths will begin to patrol the Commonwealth and will assist the player in combat. If the Institute is destroyed during the main quest, the nuclear option classical radio will be shut down and unavailable to listen to. However, jukebox built-in settlements will still work. And this is all information from the Institute Fallout Wiki fandom. So I will leave a link to that in the description. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Peace.